ICSE warriors. Welcome back to my channel. My name is PrachiSharma and today is day 11 of the test series. Now the test paper was released yesterday on the Telegram channel and today we are going to work on the solutions of that. The chapter that we are working on today is Sulphuric Acid, that is chapter number 11 of your chemistry syllabus. So let's get started with the video. Let's start with the test paper. Now one important thing that you have to remember is that these questions are very important and similar questions have been seen in past few board examinations. So make sure that you're not taking these test papers lightly and you're spending time in understanding what kind of questions there are and how to write the answers for them. So let's get started with the first question, that is match the following. You have two columns given. In the first one you have the lab preparation of nitric acid and different things are happening, and on the other side you're supposed to tell us exactly what is the property or what type of property that particular compound is showing. So for example, if you start with the first one, lab preparation of nitric acid, okay, so on the column 2, if you look at the options, you have drying agent, concentrated H2SO4. So is that something related to the lab preparation of nitric acid? So the answer is no. Then the next is reducing property of SO2, not related to nitric acid. Dehydrating property of concentrated H2SO4, it's not related for this either. Now last two is concentrated sulfuric acid as an oxidizing agent or as the least volatile acid. So when we are preparing nitric acid in lab, the acid that we look for the preparation has to be least volatile. So for this particular question, the answer should be E. The next is, I hope now you got a gist of how to answer the questions. So we'll go a bit quick on the next options. The next is lab preparation of sulfur dioxide on reaction with copper. So when it's reacting with copper, it is an oxidizing agent. So lab preparation of sulfur dioxide on reaction with copper, we are using an oxidizing agent. So the answer would be D for this. Now the next is conversion of hydrogen sulfide to sulfur. So when you're converting hydrogen sulfide to sulfur, you're reducing it. Okay, you're reducing something. So you're using the reducing property of sulfur dioxide. So the answer will be B. Then you have loss of color of blue vitriol. So the answer is dehydrating property. So the answer would be B. So loss of color of blue vitriol. Then absorption of moisture from gases, that is drying agent H2SO4. So the answer is A. So I hope this made sense to you. Let's move on to the next question. So the next one is pretty simple. You have direct equations given to you and you have to complete them and also balance them. As you have seen my video so far, we do not balance the equations in the video. You try the balancing on your own, and if you're not able to, you drop a message in the comment section or drop a message directly to me on Telegram channel and I can discuss your doubts there. So let's start with the first one. So you have magnesium plus H2SO4. So you do understand that you'll get hydrogen gas out. Along with that, you'll get MgSO4, that is magnesium sulfate. So MgSO4 plus hydrogen gas. Now in the next one, instead of just Zn, you are getting ZNO. That means instead of getting hydrogen only, you're gonna get H2O. So H2O, and this will be ZnSO4. Now next is NaHCO3. Now carbonates will always give you carbon dioxide. So you'll write carbon dioxide. Then you have NaHCO3 plus H2SO4. It's also gonna give you water because there is an extra hydrogen there. So H2O, you're getting water. What are you left with? You're left with NaHSO4. So NaHSO4. So NaHSO4 plus water plus carbon dioxide. Next is K2CO3 plus H2SO4. That will give you again carbonate. It's gonna give you carbon dioxide and water. So let's complete that. Carbon dioxide plus water, and along with that you're gonna get K2SO4. Now the next is FeS plus H2SO4. So when you have FeS, that's gonna give you hydrogen sulfide gas, that is H2S. So H2S. Along with that, what are we left with? We are left with FeSO4. So FeSO4. Great job guys so far. Let's move ahead to fill in the blanks. Concentrated sulfuric acid converts ethanol to dash as it is a dash agent. Now, this is not part of the syllabus, but still if you want to know what sulfuric acid would do, so it would convert your ethanol to ethene as it is a dehydrating agent. So I'm gonna write that to ethene as it is a dehydrating agent. Now next is sulfuric acid is commonly called as oil of vitriol. That's a common name. This is an important question. For all the study of compounds, if there are any common names mentioned, they are important for your multiple choice or single word answers. Okay? So the answer would be oil of vitriol. Now the next question is the salts of sulfuric acid are dash and dash. So since you have sulfuric acid, the salts are gonna be sulfates and bisulfates. So sulfates and bisulfates. Now the fourth one is sulfuric acid is a dash, comma dash acid. So any property that you know of acid, sulfuric acid that can go in this is acceptable. For example, we can say sulfuric acid is a strong acid. We can say it's a diabasic acid. So you can write any of those. So sulfuric acid is a strong diabasic acid. The next is the catalyst employed during contact process is dash. Now try and remember what catalyst you used in contact process. So that was vanadium pentoxide. So I'm gonna write that vanadium pentoxide. Now the next question is state whether the following statements are true or false. So let's start with the first one. Drying agent undergoes chemical reaction with the gases. No. Drying agent only plays a role in absorbing the extra moisture. It does not play a part or play a role in the chemical reaction. So the answer is false. The next is sulfur dioxide acts as a least volatile acid. That's false. Next is dehydration of sugar produces carbon dioxide. No, that's false again. Then hydrogen sulfide is dried by using concentrated sulfuric acid. No, that's not true. That is also false. Sulfuric acid is a diabasic acid. That is true. Students, for any of these parts, if you're still not clear and you need more attention in or need more help with me, please make sure you drop me a message on the Telegram channel and I can help you out. The link can be found in the description box for you guys. Now, let's move on to the next question. Each question has 4 options, out of which only one option is correct. Write the correct answer. So the first one is the catalyst used during contact process. We just covered that. That is vanadium pentoxide. Now, let's move on to the next question. The next question is dilute sulfuric acid acts as a dash. And the options are dehydrating agent, typical acid, drying agent, least volatile acid. Now, if you think about this, so dilute sulfuric acid, yes, it's a good dehydrating agent. Then it is a typical, so we can say in this cases that it is a typical acid because it does have all the properties of a typical acid. So it's a typical acid. The next is hydrated copper sulfate lose its color. First, on adding concentrated sulfuric acid. Second, on heating. C is both of them and none of these. So if you recall it from the chapter, hydrated copper sulfate will lose its color on both of the conditions. The first is when you add concentrated H2SO4 to that, as well as when you're trying to heat it up. So the answer would be C, that is both of them. Then the fourth one. Select the pair of gases which turn lime water milky. So always remember carbon dioxide is there, right? So let's pick up the ones that has carbon dioxide in it. So you have carbon dioxide here, here and here. Now ammonia turns it milky. No, that's not true. and SO3 doesn't convert it. So your answer is C, that is SO2 and CO2. The next is an anhydride of sulfuric acid. So anhydride of sulfuric acid will be sulfur trioxide. Okay. Alright students, I hope it is clear so far. Let's move on to question number 6. So question number 6 is saying, what will you observe when? Now, when you see such a question in board examinations, you are not supposed to write the equation. It is perfectly up to you if you want to write the equation or not. If you are able to guess or get an educated idea about what the observation might be. For example, if you understand, okay, hydrogen gas is gonna come out. So you just mention that a colorless, odorless gas is gonna come out, which burns with the popping sound. So we know that hydrogen gas is coming out. So that is an observation, that is an acceptable answer. Okay. So in such questions, if you can try and think about a couple of products that may come out, and you can give an observation on that, that is acceptable. No need to give the equation. So let's get started with the first question. Dilute sulfuric acid reacts with iron sulfide. So what would happen in this case is, we would see that a black colored solution would eventually turn into a green colored solution, and a rotten egg smelling gas is released. So this particular gas is hydrogen sulfide. So hydrogen sulfide gas is released. Along with that, you see a green colored solution. So I'm going to write your answers, let's say right here. So we are answer 6 first part. So I'm going to say black colored compound dissolves to give pale green. I am not sure what happened. Just give me one quick second. So you can write it down. So a black colored compound dissolves to give pale green colored solution, and a colorless, odorless gas comes out. A colorless gas comes out which has a rotten egg smell. So that would be the answer for this. Dissolves to give pale green solution and liberate a gas which has a rotten egg smell. So that's it. That's your answer for the first part. Now moving on to the second part. Dilute sulfuric acid reacts with magnesium. So when you have a compound reacting with magnesium, so when sulfuric acid is reacting with magnesium, what would happen is you'll get hydrogen gas. So H2SO4 plus Mg will give you hydrogen gas. So that if you can understand, so your last part of the answer would be that a gas is liberated that is colorless, odorless, but burns with a pop sound. Okay, so that you can mention. Plus along with that, what else you can mention? You have magnesium that reacting with H2SO4. You can mention the solution. So solution would be colorless. So you can mention that a colorless solution which liberates a gas which burns with a pop sound. That would be the answer for this. So let me just write that for you. Gives a clear solution with the liberation of a gas that is colorless and odorless, burns with a pop sound. Now the next question is, concentrated sulfuric acid is exposed to atmosphere. So when it is exposed to atmosphere, you will see eventually the volume of sulfuric acid increases. So I'm gonna just write that much, and that should be fine as an observation. You can say the volume of concentrated H2SO4 will increase after some time. Alright students, let's move on. So question 6 is done. Let's move on to question number 7. So question number 7 is also state own appropriate observation for each of the following. So you just have to give 1 or 2 observations or single observation, and that is fine. So let's start with the first one. So the first one states that concentrated sulfuric acid is added drop wise to a crystal of hydrated copper sulfate. So what would happen is that the blue crystal will turn amorphous. Okay, so that will be the observation in this case. So I'm gonna write it right here. Question number 7, first part. So you can say blue crystalline changes to white amorphous. So amorphous. Let's move on to second part. Second part says concentrated sulfuric acid is added to sugar crystals. So the sugar crystals, what would happen is a porous mass will be created. A black porous mass. Whenever you have sugar and you are adding H2SO4 to it, you get black porous mass. So that's what you can write. So you can say sugar chars to give black porous mass. Let's move on to the third one. We are done with this. We're done with this. Moist blue litmus is introduced into a jar of sulfur dioxide. So since that is acidic in nature, your blue litmus is gonna turn to red. So blue will turn to red. Turns to red. Let's move on to the fourth one. So the fourth one says water is added to concentrated sulfuric acid in order to make it dilute. So when they're saying water is added to concentrated sulfuric acid, and if you remember that in acids, bases, salts, a concept was taught as to how to dilute a concentrated acid, and in that case you add acid into the water drop wise and not vice versa. And the reason is that as soon as the first drop of water will reach the acid, it's gonna spurt out and cause burns, and that would be an accident for the person whoever is doing it. So you can get major burns from it. So therefore that would be the observation. So how would you write that? You can say the first drop of water coming in contact with acid dangerously spurts out. So I hope that is understandable. Now next is lead nitrate solution is mixed with dilute sulfuric acid. So in this case you will have a white PPT formed. So that will be your observation. A white PPT is formed. I will just write it right here. So white PPT is formed. Now the next one is ferrous sulfate crystals come in contact with concentrated sulfuric acid. So when you have green crystals coming in contact, they would change into a white powder. So ferrous sulfate crystals, so when you have crystals coming in contact, they change into a white powder form. Okay, so let me just write it. Where can I write it? I'm just looking for space. So let me write it right here. Okay, let me just leave that space for question number 8. I am gonna write it here. So you can say the green crystals of hydrated ferrous sulfate changes to white powder. Okay, so this is done. Now the next is distinguish between the following, and the distinguishing test, like with respect to what you're supposed to distinguish, is given in the brackets. These type of questions come a lot in biology also, in which they specifically mention what property you're going to distinguish it with. So similarly in this case they have mentioned specifically with which compound you're going to give the difference with. So the question says, distinguish between the following pairs of compounds using the test given within the brackets. Dilute sulfuric acid and dilute hydrochloric acid. You're supposed to distinguish between that using barium chloride solution. Okay. So when you have the first part, that means you have your sulfuric acid reacting with barium chloride. So you'll get a white PPT formation which is insoluble in all major mineral acids. So you can say a white PPT formed which is insoluble in mineral acids. And for the second one, in which they are saying HCl with barium chloride solution. So there is no reaction there. Let me write that for you. So for the first case, I can say white PPT formed which is insoluble in mineral acids. And for the second one, that is HCl, no reaction. Okay, let me see, is there any other question here or have we covered up everything? So that's it. And there is no answer pending that I'm supposed to give you. This has covered all the answers on the sheet itself. So my ICSE warriors, this is it for today's session. In this session, we have covered all the important questions of sulfuric acid. If there is any portion that you still are struggling with, make sure you let me know so that I can help you improve in that area. So thank you so much and stay tuned for the next session in which we'll be covering up organic chemistry and important board questions of that chapter. So join the Telegram channel to get the test paper beforehand and try it on your own before this video is uploaded, in which we are discussing the answers and what the board is expecting out of you. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day.